And you're welcome back. This afternoon, lawyers for Galamsey kingpin Aisha Huang are claiming that state prosecutors building a case against her told an Accra High Court that she indeed fled the country when she was last arrested for illegal mining activities way back in 2017. Aisha Huang has been charged together with two other Chinese nationals for engaging in unlawful mining and gold dealership activities in Ghana. The court was full of drama today when one of them collapsed and was subsequently sent to the hospital. Court correspondent Joseph Kable has been monitoring all of the details for us and comes through with this report.
Let's describe the four Chinese nationals as persons who engage in illegal mining activities across the country. Aisha Huang was arrested in 2017 on the accusation of engaging in the same activity. Government indicated that she had been deported. Prosecutors, however, say she sneaked out of the country, averting prosecution. She's reported to have sneaked back into the country this year and resumed her activities. Her lawyers urged the court to grant her bail, but prosecutors said she will interfere with investigations. Even before the court could deliver its ruling, one accused person collapsed and had to be rushed out.
She's not Aisha, so why are you worried of the
The court delivered its ruling dismissing the bail request. Lead counsel for Aisha Huang in Krabie Fadate is unhappy.
Well, I am sorry that my Lord did not find favor with our submissions. I think that they are entitled to bail, but the law gives us the opportunity to try other areas. So I respect my Lord for the decision he has given. I accept it, but we'll go to chambers and myself and my colleague lawyers will decide the way forward.
He also questioned why the state truncated the prosecution in 2018.
Please, what happened was that I was defending Aisha 1 at High Court Criminal 1. Then, on the day that we were supposed to open our defense, the Attorney General entered noli prosequi, which means don't prosecute. Then the Attorney General took my client away from the court. The next thing I heard the next day was that my client had been flown out of Ghana, back to China or wherever, but out of Ghana. I didn't understand why the Attorney General did not allow us to finish the case. I think it was a wrong move, but they took her out of Ghana. Today we are being told in the court that she sneaked out of Ghana, which is false, a blatant untruth, an inaccurate statement which was made to the court. Very sad.
She used to remain in the custody of the police until September 27, when the matter comes back to the court. For JoyNews from the Circuit Court, my name is Joseph Kable.
Well, we do know that Aisha Huang remains in police custody as prosecutors got an Accra High Court to extend a warrant of arrest permitting them to hold her for at least 2 weeks while they carry out further investigations. Her lawyer, Krabie Fadate, will be joining us shortly on the poll, so we're able to explore the matters. But first off, let me bring in now Kwekwa Santius with, of course, he's our parliamentary correspondent, but he's also been monitoring this special assignments for us in terms of the facts of the case and what it is that the state prosecutors are revealing to us for the very first time. Quickly, so what we do know is that President Akufo-Addo indicated clearly that he wasn't sure at the time if indeed Aisha Huang was deported or if indeed she had fled the country before the case was pushed through by the Attorney General. What are we finding out now in terms of the facts of the matters before the courts?
Blessed, according to the fact sheets that have been presented to the court by the prosecution, they actually alleged details that run contrary to some of the things government officials, government functionaries have told us. And just like you said, the narration had been that Aisha Huang had been deported until the president this week said he was not sure Aisha Huang had been deported. According to these fact sheets, she actually fled the country, if this is anything to go back. And let me quote specifically what it says. It says that the complainants in this case are security and intelligence officers who are based in Accra. Those are the persons who are making these allegations. It says that during the year 2017, the first accused, that is Aisha Huang, was arrested. And Aisha Huang was arrested and charged. And whilst prosecution was ongoing, she sneaked out of the country, averting prosecution. During the early part of 2022, the first accused sneaked back into the country after having changed the details on a Chinese passport. So these are new information that run contrary to all the information government officials have been giving us.
Precisely, and that's why I want us to pick up on what the information minister told all of us. The information minister there jumping to the defense of the president and indicating clearly that the president was only disputing the issues about the deportation. However, of course, we're getting the impression from that explanation that it might have been some repatriation taking place. But looking at the fact sheets, are we able to confirm or otherwise the circumstances under which she left the country back in 2017?
So, Blessed, indeed, if this charge sheet is anything to go by, then the information that the information minister put out is completely false. The information minister sought to explain that there was a difference between repatriation and then deportation. He went on to say that the immigration service actually issued a notice of revocation of permits and repatriation dated 19 December 2018, addressed to Huang. The notice was signed by the Comptroller General, and there was a boarding pass in the name of Huang on Ethiopian Airlines flight number ET920 from Accra to Addis Ababa, dated December 19, 2018. He went on to provide details about the seat number and all that. These are information that the information minister put out to back the claims that Aisha Huang was actually sent out of this country by the state. But according to this new information that state prosecutors have now filed in court, that information appears to be suspicious and it appears not to be true, because the information on this charge sheet actually advances the argument that Aisha Huang was not deported, neither was she repatriated, but she actually fled the country.
The president, back in 2020, expressed regrets for her, quote, deportation. Now we're getting these fresh details. Where do we place the comments of the president in all of this?
Also, the president had been silent on this matter for a number of years. Indeed, until this week when he went to the Volta region, where he was asked questions by local reporters. It was then that the president came in explaining that from the perspective of his government, he was not sure whether or not Aisha Huang had actually been deported or expatriated, as the information that had come out seemed to suggest. And that indeed it appears to him that Aisha Huang fled the country. He seemed to have said that that aspect of the narrative should be downplayed, because ultimately state actors have been able to rearrest Aisha Huang, and that the Minister for Justice and Attorney General completely has his full backing to prosecute Aisha Huang. That is the information that Kojo Nkrumah also put out, and the president has also put out.
In fact, Kuka Santi, you'd have to hold on, just stay on for us. Let's bring through now the lawyer for the accused, Aisha Huang, who's in the center of all of this. Lawyer Nkrabia Efadate is joining us now from his chambers, where, of course, a lot has been happening throughout the day, trying to look at the fact sheets and the allegations being raised against their counsel. You're welcome to the polls. Let's start off with the claims being made by prosecution. The first allegation is that she fled the country in 2017. What's your official response to that?
Now, I am surprised when this type of information is given out to the public. I was the lawyer for Aisha Huang far back in 2017 and 2018. I do remember that we were defending Aisha Huang on various charges according to this mining law. Now, Aisha Huang defended herself through cross-examination and so on until when she was supposed to open her defense. Now, on the day the case was called before High Court Criminal 1, presided over by Justice Eric Baden, the Attorney General surprised all of us by entering noli prosequi, which means don't prosecute. Now, what that meant is that the court had no choice but to discharge the accused person and to strike out the case for want of prosecution. This was done. Now, I remember I asked the police that, can I take my client out of the courtroom? Then the police said, oh, counsel, we want to take her for some documentation. And later, the next thing I heard was that she has been put in an aeroplane and flown out of Ghana back to China, her home country. So if today the police is telling the court that Aisha sneaked out of Ghana, I don't understand.
And that's where I want to. Yeah, that's why we need a lot of clarity in terms of what circumstances, the circumstances under which
he is not sure whether Aisha was deported, because there is no documentary backing to the circumstances under which Aisha left the country. There is no executive instrument signed by the president declaring her as persona non grata. There is no act of parliament ordering the deportation of Aisha. The Minister of Interior has no documentary proof that Aisha should be deported. So, all this taken into account, the circumstances surrounding Aisha's departure from Ghana does not mean she was deported. And no wonder, I'm not surprised that today she was not charged with illegal entry or that she's an illegal immigrant. No, nothing such happened. The charges against her were two: mining without a license and dealing with sales of minerals without a license. That is simplicity, the problems facing Aisha.
At the time, you were a lawyer for Aisha Huang, so I'm presuming that you may have been in contact with her when she was leaving the country. What, of course, did you get from her in terms of the accounts and grounds on which she was exiting Ghana in 2017?
At that time, to the best of my knowledge, she was in Ghana doing her own business, and she was arrested and tried, and the trial was in progress. And then suddenly, against her will, she was flown out of this country. If you ask, I would say that there is no legal basis for throwing her out of Ghana, because she did not sit in the aeroplane at her option or according to her wishes. It's as simple as that.
And the point is, I'm asking for her personal account because government is giving us an itinerary, supposedly a flight by the Ethiopian Airlines, indicating, I guess, 32F, I'm not too sure of the exact seat number, indicating that itinerary is part of the official processes for her deportation. You're contesting these facts?
Well, I am not privy to these facts. I don't know of these facts. That Aisha Huang, there was a statement concerning her departure and so on. I don't know of it. All I know is that we went to court. she was on trial, and the Attorney General entered nolle prosequi, and the judge discontinued the case. The judge struck out the case, and she was discharged. What that meant was that she was free to walk on the streets of Ghana and return to her normal business. The next thing we heard was that she was out of Ghana. Who did that? Who drew the itinerary for her departure? Who acquired the Ethiopian Airlines air ticket for her? All that, I don't know of them.
Yeah,
and I cannot speak to that. But I can emphatically say that she was moved out of Ghana.
If you're contesting the fact that she did not flee the country, it goes to the heart of the point that you have evidence for that matter to back the fact that indeed Aisha Huang was not on seat 32F back in 2017 using gate C7 to quote and unquote flee the country, because that's the argument from state prosecution. So if you're contending all of these arguments from the state, it means you have evidence to counter that. So what evidence do you have, aside the fact that you are well aware of the circumstances under which she was not in this country in 2017? That's the reason for which I'm asking you as what she told you back in 2017.
What she told me. Oh, Master, this is your question. I don't know what answer I should give. Because me, I'm a lawyer practicing in Ghana. And she came for me to defend her that she has been arrested by the police. We went to court. We were doing the case for her, cross-examining all the witnesses, majority of them immigration officers. We cross-examined all. And then suddenly, the Attorney General enters nolle prosequi. Then, the next day, she's out of Ghana. What I know, and what I have been told at the law school, is that when the government declares you persona non grata, they can validly take you out of the country. The records will show that you have been declared persona non grata. You are not supposed to be in the country. And this is the sovereign will of every government in every part of the world. They can declare you persona non grata. Nobody has declared Aisha Huang as a persona non grata in Ghana. But the truth and the practical reality is that in 2018, all of a sudden, she was thrown out of Ghana. The question is, by who? Who did that? Who acquired the air ticket for her to travel by Ethiopian Airlines? Who drew up the itinerary for her departure? What happens to her? And she left behind vast economic interests. Aisha Huang was a very successful mining engineer, mining businessman. What I know about Aisha personally, from her instructions to me in 2018, is that she herself is not doing mining per se, but she sells mining equipment, mining materials to those in the field. But she herself does not go to the bush to do galamsey, no. But she sells mining equipment to those in the business. That is all. And now you are worrying this innocent 47-year-old woman.
You're calling her innocent. Is that not prejudicial, knowing the fact that there are a number of questions surrounding her dealings? For how long do you know that she's been in this country? Some accounts are saying she's been here for the past 2 years. Since the last time you heard from the Attorney General on this case, what do you know about her presence or otherwise in the country?
Well, I've seen Aisha Huang. The last time I saw her was in 2018, when we were in the courtroom and the Attorney General entered nolle prosequi. Since then, I have not seen her again until, well, yesterday, a junior lawyer from this law firm went to see her. And today, I saw her in person at the court when I was defending her. Beyond this, I can't say much about my knowledge of Aisha Huang.
Yeah, but then you agree now that 2018 till now is such a long time for her to veer off into other interests. You're saying that you know her to be a business person engaged in the sale of equipment for mining. The state is arguing that she's engaged in illegal mining. The last time you saw her was in 2018. It goes without saying that you don't sufficiently have details on her whereabouts, her economic activities in the last 3 years. You agree? And that possibly she may have veered off into mining in itself and possibly illegal mining.
Well, all I can say is that if what you are telling me now is the truth, then the state security agencies, or for that matter, the police, those doing the prosecution, they should have a dossier on her. They must have all their facts intact. So why tell the court that investigations are continuing when you have arrested her and detained her under the court order for more than 14 days? I don't understand. It is true, yes. Since 2018, I have not set eyes on her. And my description of her business interest is based on what she told me when I met her in 2018 and what I knew about her in 2018. Yes. In 2018, I used to meet her frequently because she used to come to this office until the case reached where she was deported.
I want to give you a part of the reasons for which prosecution is asking that Aisha Huang be detained some more. Part of it, it's very instructive. They are talking, and I'm just paraphrasing here, they're talking about the possibility of Aisha Huang influencing the key witnesses going into the hearing of this case. It goes to the heart of the numerous complaints we've heard from some stakeholders, including the National Association of Small-Scale Miners, who even claim that Aisha Huang appears to be very powerful. In fact, there are those who go to allege that she's into the habit of sextortion. You've heard all of these allegations. How do they come to you as counsel for the accused?
The way people talk about Aisha Huang, I get surprised. The way people say she can influence decision-making or she can influence law enforcement officers, all these points come to me as a surprise. Because I know her prior to 2018 removal from Ghana. I know her as a simple woman who is very quiet, and to tell me that she has the capacity to interfere with decision makers or influence decision makers or officers, investigation officers or power brokers in this country, I get surprised. But, well, that is the lot that is being said about her. And the whole media blaze on Aisha Huang is creating so much furore about her case and making it difficult for we, the lawyers, to get bail for her. Because they have suddenly made this otherwise simple case of Galamsey trial assume national proportions, to the extent where today the prosecutor was telling the court that it is in the public interest to keep her in custody. I felt embarrassed by this understatement, because truly it is in the public interest to give bail to a lady like this, because she's innocent. And the law is that a person is innocent until found guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction, such as Circuit Court 9.
You haven't touched on the controversial issue of allegations of sextortion, the fact that she may be in possession of materials that could be damaging to the reputation of some key policy makers, for a reason for which government is not even having that commitment to go ahead with the prosecution.
Well, as far as I know, these were not mentioned in the courtroom today, but we are just dealing with what is on the ground, sale of minerals and mining. And personally, I think that these matters require bail. I don't see, honestly, even though I have so much respect for the judge, I know him personally, I disagree with his ruling. I think he ought to have granted bail to Aisha Huang.
You're still running away from the question.
Please, with all respect, restate your question.
Anyway, so let's deal with some more issues coming up. But if you care to answer that, I was just asking the issue about sextortion, the allegations, and this appears to be in the public, not necessarily in the court, about a habit of sextortion, being in possession of materials that could be damaging to the reputation of people of high repute, people who are policymakers in the sector, who could influence obviously the prosecution that's going on now. You might want to deal with that, and also then we could zoom into the 2 weeks that is facing her now, and as to what you intend to do as lawyer for Aisha to get freed.
Well, answering these your questions is difficult because, to the best of my knowledge, my client is not accepting anything to the fact that she is influencing anybody in decision making, or she has the capacity to interfere with investigations, or that she is fond of trying to undermine justice. I don't have any evidence to that. And she tells me that she has not done anything like that. And so, well, I don't know what to say, apart from the fact that as a lawyer, I'll do the best I can together with my team of lawyers to defend her, to get bail for her, to let her return to her normal life in Ghana.
How are you proceeding with this case as counsel for this very accused? There are some, for instance, a very revered Professor Ining, talking about the possible fact that she may be working on behalf of a foreign government. You know her to be a business person. There are claims of espionage in this case, the fact that she's a spy, destroying territorial integrity. Are you working in tandem with the Chinese government, and is there any influence externally on this case?
I'm sorry, but your question is, I'm sorry, your question is neither here nor there. Your question is neither here nor there. It says, my client is a Chinese national. She has been accused of mining without license and selling minerals without license. This has nothing to do with Ghana-China relationship. This has nothing to do with Ghana's territorial integrity or protection of Ghanaian natural resources or something. It is the duty of the police to prove the charges against my client. And when the opportunity comes up, it is their responsibility to line up witnesses, to swear an oath to tell the truth, and to give evidence showing that on such and such a day, they saw Aisha Huang doing this act or doing this business which is inimical to the interests of Ghana
Interesting times ahead in court. In fact, I just want to pick up on what you told the media right after proceedings in court today. You said that this was a small matter, I mean, quote unquote. For some, that goes to suggest that it's as though you are not aware of the consequences of illegal mining on our environment. And in fact, you belong to a political party who's had its leader, the president, put his presidency on the line to fight illegal mining. Why underestimate the potential damage illegal mining is causing to this nation?
Well, if you quoted me as saying illegal as a small matter, it is because since I became a lawyer, the only offense or charge that I am scared of is murder. Apart from murder cases, for me, as a practicing court-going lawyer, all other criminal charges are relatively small matters. Because at the worst case scenario, touch wood, is to go to prison. But death, when murder is concerned, the worst case scenario is death sentence, God forbid. So if I said this is a small matter, it's because I think that it is not a first-degree felony offense. And I have no doubt. And you see, the evidence is not strong enough. The way the police is behaving, the way they are dancing around the subject, it gives me the impression that somebody, I regret to say, may have an axe to grind with Aisha Huang. And that is why that somebody is trying to make sure that Aisha Huang does not walk on the streets of Ghana. Otherwise, I don't see the problem involved. She was not arrested with any exhibit of mining materials. She was not arrested at the site of doing galamsey. So what is your information? Is it now that government, or for that matter, the police, are going to fish for information? They are going to ransack personal items and ask questions and look for witnesses to build up a case against her, which will be most unfair because it sins against the Constitution. If you don't have a dossier on a suspect, you should not arrest her. You should not deny her the right of movement. I think I'm sorry to say, but I think the system is not being fair to Aisha Huang.
Who do you believe?
And a multiplicity of suspicions.
Yeah, who do you believe may be behind this?
Yes, sir.
Who do you believe may be picking up qualms with Aisha Huang? And of course, I was speaking to the Ashanti Regional Minister a couple of days back. He told me that they were not allowing access to Aisha Huang, so that would also come up now as to how you are still going to keep in touch with her. But ultimately, who do you suspect may be picking up issues with Aisha Huang?
In fact, I have not heard of this regional minister's comments that you said concerning Aisha Huang's matter. But what I know for sure is that Aisha Huang, during the 2018 trial, she told me she has a lot of business interests in Ghana. And I suspect that those who owe her for services rendered or materials purchased from her and they have not paid back, it is those people who do not want Aisha Huang to be around. They would want to see her back in Ghana so that they can live without paying her for her materials or things that she has sold to them. Otherwise, of course, I don't know any particular human being that I can put my finger on and say that this particular person is orchestrating Aisha Huang's woes or difficulties. But I suspect strongly that it is her debtors or her creditors who are trying to worry her.
In fact, this sounds ridiculous, but it's a shocking detail that you're putting out there, that Aisha Huang may have a lot of people owing her. Are you able to publish this list or perhaps mention a few names that she shared with you, a reason for which you believe that the state is tilting against her?
Well, I don't know what else I can say with specific reference to this your comment. But basically, my worry is that, please, what evidence is there to show that Aisha Huang is a Galamsey kingpin? What evidence is there to show that Aisha Huang is a notorious Galamseyer? What evidence do we have in this country to show that Aisha Huang is a persistent criminal in Galamsey operations? There is none.
Counsel.
There is none. Because if what the state wants us to believe, what the police prosecution are saying, if they have the dossier, if they have the facts, why not bring them out?
Counsel, you've repeated...
Why describe her as a notorious kingpin?
Yeah, Counsel, you've repeated all of these points.
You don't have any evidence of such.
Counsel, you've repeated all of these points, but what's instrumental is that you're saying her debtors may be getting back at her. You may, of course, choose not to put out the names, but are you able to give us the sense of where these people are? Are they placed in government? Are they some government officials who are equally engaged in the mining sector, a reason for which they want to get her out?
Well, I can't contribute to this question because all I know is I'm defending my client, and the state, if the prosecution has a dossier of information, let them bring it in open court, and then we'll sort it out, and then she can be convicted.
But
they don't have any.
Yes.
And that is why they said...
What items did she sell to the people, a reason for which they are not willing to pay back?
Oh, I am not willing to say what. I am not. All I am saying is that according to the charge sheet that was placed before the judge today, she was accused of 2 counts. 1, mining. In fact, they just put the mining, simpliciter, mining without license. And 2, sale of minerals without license. These are the 2 charges against my client. So, the question that the police or the state or the attorney general must answer is that, what is the basis?
Counsel, you've made all of these points. It appears you're veering off the question that I asked earlier. I was asking about this very statement you made here on this platform, that the debtors of Aisha Huang are seeking to get her off by ensuring that she's behind bars. I'm asking you that if you are not willing to put out the names, at least let's get a sense of the items she indeed sold to these persons. Because after all, you're telling us that she's a business person, not engaged in mining itself, but in the sale of mining equipment. That's what you told us earlier.
What she told me in 2018 is that she sells materials used in mining to those engaged in the mining business. For me, that was enough. I didn't need to ask her whether she sells excavators or engine oil or pickaxes or shovels or what. Those specific materials, I don't know them because I didn't ask. I was content. It was satisfactory for me to be told that she deals in sale of mining materials to those engaged in mining.
How about her dealings in the West Africa sub-region? The Small Scale Miners Association are reporting that your client, at least you've not given us that detail, is also engaged in similar activities elsewhere in neighboring countries such as Cote d'Ivoire and the Republic of Togo. Do you have a sense if indeed her business interest stretches across these territories?
I'm sorry, interviewer. I don't know any information whatsoever about Aisha Huang's business interests or mining interests in Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, wherever. All I know is that she's an accused person before Circuit Court 9 on 2 counts of mining without license and sale of minerals without license. She has not told me, and I have not asked her about other business interests.
At this point, I want to bring in the issue about human rights. You're a lawyer, so you're very much concerned about that. It's a reason for which you do not believe that she should be still in the custody of security agencies for well over a week. Of course, 2 weeks we're hearing of now. And that's why I want to find out from you if you've been in touch with her. Even before she was presented before the courts today, the indication we got from the Ashanti regional minister was that they were not allowing access to her. No one was able to establish contacts. But as a lawyer for Aisha Huang today, have you been able to establish contacts with her as to how she's faring, how she's being treated, and what do you have to report on that?
Well, you see, this question is interesting because normally myself and most lawyers, in fact, I would say almost every lawyer, can go to any police station in Ghana anytime to visit a client. The police generally, nationwide, must be commended for allowing access to clients by lawyers. In fact, all my 37 years of practice as a lawyer, the police have never denied me access to a client. But as for Aisha Huang, since last week Friday, the police have been calling me that Aisha Huang wants to see me. Aisha Huang wants to see me. So yesterday, a lawyer from these chambers went to see Aisha Huang. He stayed at the registry of the of BNI for 2 hours and finally left. Then another lawyer went to see her. That lawyer also was subjected to so much documentation before finally she was given access to Aisha for 15 minutes only. 15 minutes only. What is all this? Why? Every person is entitled to the services of a lawyer. So why detain a lawyer? Why deny a lawyer the opportunity? Why deny a lawyer the opportunity of meeting her client unless she goes through so much fuss, so much documentation? Why? And you see all this, then I ask myself, the police, do they actually have evidence to support the charges against Aisha? If yes, what is all this problem? Why are they waiting? Why investigations continue? If you don't have, why don't you allow her to go on bail? In fact, I must confess, as a lawyer, I'm not happy with the way the police are handling this matter at all. And always I tell myself the golden rule: do unto others what you want to be done to you. The police who are doing this, they must not forget, when they are also arrested, they will be placed through such impediments, and they will not be happy. And in Ghana, this country has shown that nobody is above the law. Anything can happen to anybody, anytime. That is why we have the Constitution, to protect each one of us. Each one of us is protected by the Constitution.
I can imagine, how passionate you are about this. But the last time you engaged Aisha, at least before she was taken away, What do you get as a sense, the state in which she is right now and how she's feeling?
Well, I can't talk much on that because 5 years is a long time. 5 years is a really long time. But when I saw her in court today, she looked very much the same Aisha I knew in 2018, except that in 2018 she looked more lively, and I saw her in very interesting circumstances. You know, the first time she gave me instructions, it was at Kempinski Hotel, and she looked vibrant. But today, when I saw her, she looked very much Aisha Huang, but you could see from her face that she was worried. And anybody who has been in BNI cells for 2 weeks will look worried. I can guarantee you that. I was kept there by President Liman for 1 month, and the circumstances there are not palatable. So it's unfortunate.
Okay, so even as we wrap up, going forward, what are we to expect? Are you likely to appeal this decision? I mean, asking some superior courts to try and reverse this decision by the circuit court? And how soon will you take that action?
Well, myself and my lawyers, we are going to have a conference to decide the roadmap for Aisha Huang. The options are many. One of them is to try to get bail for her at the High Court. Another option is to wait and see what can be done on the 27th. Another option is to apply to have the case brought forward before the 27th. The options are many. And my colleagues and I will brainstorm, and then we'll move forward. But in all this, we will need the endorsement of our client, because as for us, at least at this law firm, we work strictly on instructions from our clients. No more, no less.
But as lead counsel, looking at how you're complaining about her circumstance, are we certain to see that appeal in the High Court if you do have the express permission of your client?
Most likely, you will see us at the High Court.
Okay, then. We need to wrap up. Any final words? And in fact, we're also, as a country, dealing with the issues of illegal mining. So even as you wrap up with us, probably you might want to prefer some solutions to the president in terms of how we can handle the situation. You belong to the New Patriotic Party, so you are concerned about the fortunes of the party going forward into the next general elections. What would that message be?
Going forward, let me make it very clear that I am an MPP member, a leading member of MPP. I support the president fully in his battle against galamseyers. I have seen with sorrow and a lot of misgivings about the way our rivers are being spoiled by galamsey. When you are going to Kumasi and you reach Anyinem, and you look at the river, the way it has turned yellow due to galamsey is bad. But emphatically, but as a lawyer, I urge all security agencies to do their work as professionally as possible. Don't act on rumors. If you don't have evidence, don't arrest anybody. When you arrest, you must have concrete, solid facts. Bring them to court. Boldly tell the court the basis of arresting the accused person. And then let's go forward. And then if you get conviction, the person pays the consequences. It's as simple as that. But if you act on rumors that, oh, she's a notorious galamseyer, a kingpin, operating the left, right, center, will interfere with investigation, and so on, and you come, it's not the best, it's not good. Yeah, and you know, Ghana, fortunately, we are touted as a rule of law country where the government respects the rule of law. And I must say that President Akufo-Addo has demonstrated that MPP is a law-abiding rule of law country. And so we must not do anything to dent that image without, for a moment, suspending the battle against Galamsey.
I'm grateful, lawyer Nkrabea Ifa, that is counsel for the embattled Aisha Huang. In fact, there's more on her because she's said to have made some big cash operating issues as an illegal miner and gold dealer, acquiring properties with her wealth. Erastus Cesare Donko has been monitoring that, went to Ahojo where she stayed briefly before her arrest. Here's what we found.
So before Miss Aisha Huang was sent back to her country, she was mainly into mining around Amansia Central, specifically Bepotinting. That is where her mines were. And after she returned to the country, I'm told by my sources that she has invested a lot into gold buying activities. And so she's also sponsoring some Ghanaian young miners to go into mining. Now, her mining site at Bepotinting has been sold to a Ghanaian miner. She herself is into a number of businesses sponsoring young people to buy gold for her. And then she's also into a brothel business, I am told, which is situated around Adiabeba in Kumasi. And she also operates a massaging business around Ahojo as well. So there are a number of businesses that are allegedly linked to Miss Aisha Huang, all located around Ahojo and Adiabeba to be precise. But then we're running some checks. It will need the Registrar General's Department to be able to tell us or pinpoint whether these businesses that we know of that are linked to her are really registered in her name or registered in other people's names. But what we know specifically is that there are Chinese nationals who are currently collaborating with some Ghanaian nationals to mine in specific places like Kunso, close to Mankranso, for her. She's also into gold buying business, which is fronted by some Ghanaians as well in Kumasi, specifically Adiabeba and Ahojo. That is what we know for now.